edition of the New Teacher Interviews. I'm Miriam, District Instructional Coach for LCPS, and I am here with Matt Frye. He is an English teacher at the Stonehill Middle School. He teaches English 7 and 8, and he was the recipient of the Secondary New Teacher Award for LCPS. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to teaching, and what are some of the successes you experienced this school year?
Sure. So I'm finishing up my first year here at Stonehill Middle School, and my route to teaching was a little bit different from probably some other people's. I actually wanted to be a teacher my entire life, and I was that kid that was in at recess and helping teachers grade papers and making my own lesson plans. But when it came time to sort of choose a career path when I went to college, I went in a different direction, and I ended up going into business and went all the way through grad school in business and economics, and had spent the last 10 or so years working in various roles in finance, most recently helping support federal student aid policy at a university. But during that entire time, I kept looking back to see, how can I go back to school to be a teacher? And it was something that every time I went to look, it was another couple years of school, or it was just not the right time in my life to do that. But I finally made the choice a little over a year ago to go back to school through a career switcher program here in Virginia. And it was honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I was telling somebody the other day that it's such an amazing thing when the thing you get paid for every single day is something that you're actually passionate about. This is the first time I've ever felt that. I've always liked jobs that I've done, and I've always, done well. But actually having a passion for what you get to do every day is really an amazing feeling. So.
Oh, love that story. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So, being your first year, what were some of the things that you consider being some of the successes you had this school year?
Yeah, so obviously, surviving my first year is a success, and certainly the honor of being named New Teacher of the Year. But honestly, when I think about some of the successes, it's really the student successes. Their successes are my successes. I know that sounds probably cliche, but it's, my 8th grade team this year, we're really proud of the work that we did to help improve our students' writing scores. We saw really big improvements in writing scores this year. And even just things like reading and writing stamina in class. I had a kid that at the beginning of the school year, getting her to just bring a book to class was a struggle, and did not want to read. And during reading time, she would be on the same page for 20 minutes, and it was that sort of thing. And we would talk and try to get her to get interested in certain different things. And a couple weeks ago, towards the end of the school year, she came up to me and she said, "Mr. Frye, have you read this book?" and was making book recommendations to me. So something like that is really something that I view as a success. Being able to build these kids up and get them interested in reading and writing, which is really a tool that they will take with them the rest of their life. So I'm really proud of things like that.
Absolutely. We always think that is the teachers making an impact on the students, but a lot of times it's the students also making a big impact on the teachers. So thank you for that beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
On another note, as the first year teacher, I'm sure you have experienced some challenges. So tell us about some of the challenges you might have experienced this school year, as well as how you overcame them.
Time. There is no time to do anything. No, I think that's been my biggest struggle, and something that, when I was in the New Teacher Institute earlier last year, everyone said, you're going to hit this point. At the beginning of the year, it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it, and you're going to hit this point, whether it's October, November, December, that you are going to sort of hit a wall, and you're going to feel like you're overwhelmed. And this isn't my first job, and so I thought, I'll be fine. I've had stressful jobs before, but it's true. Probably about the middle of October, I got to this point where I was like, I don't have time. I barely have time during my planning to plan, let alone grade things and really be there for my kids outside of class the way that I want to. So that's really been a struggle, and I think one of the biggest piece of advice that I got during that time was you have 3 options outside of school. You can either come in early, you can stay late, or you can take things home, but don't do all three because you'll get burned out. So I think it's really just finding that balance. For me, I'm not a morning person, so I will be here on the dot when I need to be here, and that's coming in early is not an option for me. So what really worked for me was staying late. So there were many times early, in the middle of the school year when a lot of things were going on, that I would be here until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night consistently, and that worked for me. That's not going to work for everybody depending on family obligations. So just finding that balance and what works for you is really, really important. And being sure to remember that you still have a life that you have to have time for yourself to recharge during the weekend. So just finding that balance was really important, and I would recommend anybody that is getting into teaching really consider that, and don't do too much. Make sure that you're because when you don't give yourself time, your kids notice that, and they notice when you're kind of running on fumes. So finding that balance is really important.
Great advice, Matt. So indeed, time and time management are key for this profession, as well as ensuring that you're putting your own oxygen mask first and taking care of yourself before you try to take care of everybody else. So balance is the key. Thank you for that. And if you had any other piece of advice for new teachers embarking on their first year of teaching, what would it be?
I would say, and we hear this a lot, whether it's you're coming from a college program or any other teacher preparation program, to build relationships. It's something that you're going to hear from everyone. You'll hear it at New Teacher Institute. Everyone is saying, your principal, build relationships. But I can't stress how important that is. I think, and that goes beyond just the students. That goes to the parents. That goes to your colleagues. Get involved in things in school, whether it's helping to sponsor a club or helping a kid after school or going to concerts. Kids notice these things, and I think when you can build a relationship with them and get sort of in touch with the things that they're interested in outside of just, this is the assignment I need you to do, it really helps. And I think it's helped me this year, even with classroom management, with kids that didn't want to do their work. When you build those relationships and they know that you care about them more than just the letter grade that you assign them on their report card, I think it really makes a huge difference. I think one of the other pieces of advice I would give is to be open-minded and not necessarily think that you have all the answers. That was my biggest aha moment this year, I think, was understanding that, yes, I'm college educated, they're in 7th or 8th grade, but don't get cocky about that. There's a lot that these kids know. These kids are smart. We have some great kids in the county, and be sure that you're open to learning from them too, because I think when we're teaching these kids to be open-minded and to be critical thinkers and eventually, run the world. So I think it's important that we give them that voice. And to understand that giving students a voice doesn't diminish my voice. They're adding to the conversation, and I think that's really important to understand.
Wonderful golden nugget. So build relationships first, content later, and teaching and learning is a two-way street. I can't tell you how many times the students are more savvy in technology than our own teachers, or with coding and programming, etc. So a two-way street. Thank you so much for having us, Matt. Any final thoughts?
Don't give up. When you hit that point in the middle of the year, push through it, because honestly, this has been an amazing year. I've had ups and downs throughout the year, as every teacher does, whether it's your first year or your 30th. But push through it, because it's been one of the most rewarding years of my life, and I'm really excited to see where the next decades go.
Absolutely. So if Matt can do it, anyone can do it. Until the next time.